Iowa Hawkeye head man on the podium.
Both among the top 7 in Big Ten history. Iowa returns 14 starters from last season, including 7 on both offense and defense. Coach, go ahead with the opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Certainly, I think like every coach up here, we're awfully eager to start next week and anxious to get back on the field with our players. You know, looking back to last year, we had a lot of positive, very rewarding moments, and like every year, you know, when January comes, you turn the page and move on to the next season. That's what we did again this past January. We lost 21 outstanding seniors off our football team from a year ago. They did a great job of modeling the right type of behavior, the types of things you have to do if you want to have a winning team. And so, you know, that being said, you know, as we look forward right now, you know, this is a very new team. We're minus those players. We have new opportunities and certainly new challenges that they're ahead of us. Anytime you have a good team, you lose good players. That's certainly the case here. But that being said, we've got a lot of quality players back that we're very excited about. And the 3 players that I brought to Chicago, Desmond King, C.J. Beathard, Josie Jewel, are certainly reflective of that. And if you look at our football team right now, certain areas that we're going to have to try to develop where we had senior attrition. We had 2 defensive ends graduate, 2 wide receivers, a couple offensive linemen, both fullbacks, and then tight end, free safety, weak side linebacker. So you go right down. Like every team, we've got work to do on that front. And maybe as significant as anything is our punting and kicking situation. We had 2 seniors at those positions last year. They both did a great job. So that's a big thing. And then again, overall, just the fact that we had 21 guys graduate, that leaves a huge void on your football team. Certainly guys have to ascend, and then somebody's got to fill in those areas afterwards. So all that being said, again, we're anxious to start camp next week. Expect a lot of healthy competition. The guys have had a good summer. They've put in a good summer thus far. Hopefully finish that up well this week, and we're eager to get started. I know we have a lot of work ahead, but we're looking forward to that. With that, I'll throw it out for questions.
Please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone right to you. First question will be here on the left side of the room.
Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register. Hi, Coach. What have you learned from the 2005 and 2010 seasons in terms of high expectations and undesired results?
Yeah, I think if you look back, there are years where we've handled that well, like 2009 and maybe 2003, 2004, and then in those 2 seasons you just alluded to, it really gets down to just winning close games, doing little things right, those types of things. And I think it's that way in college football in general. Certainly it's been that way at the University of Iowa for a long time. Little things do matter. They are big things, and our ability to handle little details and do little things well on a consistent basis typically is a measure of our success. And last year's a really good illustration of that. I think if you look at it all but one game, there weren't many games where we were in the last 4 minutes where anybody on our sideline felt very comfortable. All those games went right down to the wire. They're extremely competitive. And, again, that's just, I think, the nature of college football certainly is for us at Iowa. And for us to be successful, we've got to be able to come out on the right side of those games. And, again, it usually gets down to little detail things.
Coach, next question's in the far back left corner of the room.
Okay.
Jason Jorgensen from the Rural Radio Network. Coach, are the pieces in place there to duplicate what you did again? I mean, how tough is that going to be for you guys to repeat the magical season you had last year?
Well, it's the first time I've been involved with an undefeated season during my time in college football, and we've had some good football teams historically. But so right there, and just look nationally, it's very tough to go undefeated. A lot of things have to go your way. You have to have a good football team to start with, and then you have to be fortunate injury-wise, although we really didn't fit that category last year. You have to handle certain situations really well, so it's tough to do. But the big thing for us each and every year, we want to win every game, just like every team does. That's our goal at the onset. And it gets back to just taking care of what you can take care of on a given day, a given portion of your calendar, and take it a step at a time. So it's really not much more complex than that. Our team, again, did a really nice job of that last year. That's a heck of a challenge for this year's team to try to have the kind of leadership that we had last year at the top end of the team, and then also handle the daily challenges the way last year's team did it. So those 2 things really went hand in hand, and it's a lot easier to talk about that than to really have it come out in terms of functionality.
Our next question will be down front here, third row on the aisle.
Bill Bender, Sporting News. Coach, last year CJ was just kind of stepping in as your starter, and now he's pretty established, obviously. So, what's kind of the ceiling for him as he heads into this year?
We'll find out, and it's interesting, at least locally, last year we made a decision to go with CJ, and going into the season, I think a lot of people just kind of assumed he was a veteran player. He'd had one start in his career, I believe, and came in relief in another game, played a prominent role. So last year was really his first year playing. I thought he did a tremendous job, especially if given the injury situation that he was confronted with. He was healthy, really wasn't healthy other than the first 2.5 games probably. So I thought he did a wonderful job. He showed a lot of poise, a lot of mental toughness out there, a lot of great leadership. And I think he's representative of our good players, the guys I mentioned, and others on our football team. If we're going to have a good football team this year, realistically, every one of those guys have to play better than they did a year ago. And Desmond had a very celebrated season, but he certainly played better than he had the first 2 years. Took the experience that he had gained and really used it to his advantage. And we expect that of all of our players. Certainly quarterback's a very tough position to play. It's a very critical position. And CJ's a very intelligent young man, very prideful young man. So I think all of us expect him to continue to push forward and not only be healthier, but an improving player on top of that.
Floor is open right now. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Coach will come back here under the lights on our right.
Hey, Kirk, Teddy Greenstein. Did Desmond have one of the tougher decisions in terms of NFL or coming back, you think, you've seen in your tenure here?
Yeah, I personally don't think it's tough at all. And I told Desmond basically the same thing I told Brandon Sheriff. From my vantage point, there are very few times in life where you get to do what you want to do, not what you have to do or you feel like you have to do. And I think Brandon went through the same thing a year prior to that. When you're sitting in a position where you have a chance, your future is good, no matter what you choose to do. He had an option to go to the NFL, and what I told both players was I was pretty confident when they were 26, 27, they were going to be really good players in the National Football League and contributing to whatever teams they were on. So that was out there, and I think it's a given, pretty much a given for both those guys. So, it's one of those rare opportunities when you can do what you feel like doing. What do you truly want to do? And every one of our NFL guys that comes back always tells our team that, the most fun they'll ever have is in college. And I think both those guys took it to heart. I know with Desmond, it's really important for him to finish his degree work, not only to him but his entire family. And I think in both cases with Desmond and Brandon, the messages they heard from their families was very positive towards staying in college. And, the bottom line is, you only get to be a senior twice in your life as an athlete. And those are really enjoyable, fulfilling years. And I think Desmond certainly appreciated that, and I think he's excited about being back and also embracing the challenge of being a leader and being a better player than he was last year. It may not show up statistically, but being a better football player for us, that's something we're all counting on.
If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get our next question here on the aisle. Coach, just on the right side.
Coach, Ryan Dunleavy, NJ.com. I think people still think of the Big Ten as black and blue, linebackers, linemen, but how good is the cornerback play in the league right now between Desmond, Jordan Lewis at Michigan, Will Likely at Maryland? I can keep going, but how good is the cornerback play in a league that people think of running?
Well, I'm old enough to be around when there's a lot of perceptions about our league going back to the early 80s, where it was, 3 yards and a cloud of turf or whatever it might have been back then. I think perceptions a lot of times are really overrated. If you look historically in our league, at least, 80s on, there's been a lot of diversity in terms of the way people attack offensively, defensively, things they do on special teams, and then right along with that, I think, we've had tremendous players at all positions here historically. That's one of the neat things about being in this conference and watching the players that have come through. And certainly those players that you just mentioned are all outstanding players. But I think if you studied all the positions in our conference, we've got a lot of tremendous young players. And it tends to be that way every year. So that's part of the challenge, part of the fun of this whole thing is, seeing great players and being able to compete against great players each and every week.
We'll go to the left side of the room here in the middle back.
Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register again. I don't know if you've ever brought a junior to Big Ten Media Days before, but you did this year with Josie Jewel. What does that say about him and what you feel about him as a leader?
It's interesting. To that point, we've never brought anybody other than seniors here. That's something we've tried to do traditionally. And, going back 18 years, I've always surveyed the staff on who they thought would be the 3 best players to bring here. And our staff was basically unanimous with Josie, so I took it into a staff meeting. And, what I concluded is pretty obvious. Josie's the first sophomore captain we've ever had. That's an award that's selected by the teammates. And Josie was an overwhelming choice last December to be a team captain. So, it just made common sense, I think, to bring him here. He's achieved something that no player's done in the last 17 years at our place. He's a tremendous representative. He's done a great job on the field, a great leader. So, we're just thrilled to have him here. But there are several other guys that would have done a great job too, but I think it was just the right thing to do. That movie was Spotlight, by the way. 2 months later, I remembered it, so sorry about that. The one movie I've seen since season ended. I knew I saw a good one.
It's a good aside. Any other questions we have? We have time for 2 more. We'll take our first one here on the left.
Hi, Kirk. Scott Docterman, Cedar Rapids Gazette. When you look at George Kittle's development, he came in as kind of a tweener in size, but he's really developed both as a blocker and as a pass catcher. Is this did you anticipate him making these strides, or did he just exceed your expectations?
I don't know if I'd use the word anticipate, but we were certainly hopeful. George's cousin did a great job for us last year, Henry Krieger-Coble, and just had an unbelievable senior year. And I think he has a really nice opportunity with the Denver Broncos, so we're wishing him the best. He's a real key loss for us. And with Henry, each step of the way was really important to him, and I think George, we kind of view him the same way. Different type of player, but very much same in terms of development. I think George came to our place at 200, 205 pounds. Now he's built himself up where he's able to, I think, do the things we ask our tight ends to do. He's got a tremendous attitude. He's just worked extremely hard, and we've seen him, I think, take really positive steps with every segment of the calendar. So he continues to do that throughout the summer, and really hopeful that he'll have a real memorable senior year. That would certainly help our football team a great deal. And more importantly, that's what you want for every player in your roster. You just want to see them develop and continue to improve. And I think that's where his thoughts are. That's where his efforts have been, and just really excited to see him play this season. But we're very, very hopeful for him.
Still time for 2 more. Please raise your hands high. Take our next one down here front on the left.
Yeah, Coach Jack Park, 97.1 The Fan. Again this year, you're going to play Nebraska on the Friday after Thanksgiving rather than Saturday. I know that's happened for quite a few years. Is that good or bad? How do you and your staff like that?
Personally, I think it's great. We really enjoy it for a couple of reasons, but I think it just adds to the game a little bit. It makes it a little bit unique from a television perspective, and players seem to enjoy that. And I think it works out just fine. If it was earlier in the season, I'd be a little uncomfortable with that, a short week. But when you get to week 12, it's really, I don't think, that big a deal. In fact, it may be beneficial. Sometimes it's better to get to games faster than it is sit around and look at each other for another day. So I think it's all positive.
Time for 1 more. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.